Okay.
Ooh. How everyone?
How you all doing? Welcome to our digital pub, the Queen's Legs. It's now open.
It's a lovely place.
Thanks.
So lovely.
We're good. How are you guys?
Yes.
Not too bad. Every day just kind of merges into one right now.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
It's true.
That's true. Time's very stretchy at the moment.
It does. But before we kick off, shall we play a show reel?
Yes, should we just talk which drink everyone is having?
Let's do that afterwards. That's after
Okay.
the preamble.
All right. So I'm just going to be ahead of the game. So let me just a second. I'm going to share the screen here. Just loading here. Make sure everything is working. And cool. Sharing you guys. So let me go full screen. Oh, nice.
Nice.
Nice. Yeah.
Is it weird watching your reel back?
Yeah, because that one we finished and uploaded the day of lockdown. Or maybe
Lockdown reel.
a nice new spring reel with bird song delayed underneath it and things like
Do you
that.
feel like it's a wasted effort now?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
Very much.
We should have went ahead though, like spend everyone saying, yeah, now you've got more time to watch something.
Very, yeah, we thought a lot about how to send that email out.
We should probably introduce you then.
Yeah.
So this is Mina and Liam from Picnic Studio. Do you prefer Liam or Lena?
Liam.
And let's see what you guys drink tonight.
We are drinking. We got a bottle.
What right now?
Drinking prosecco.
Ooh.
Nice.
Is it? I thought it was cava.
I think it's prosecco.
Right. Or cava. Cava's the proper way to say it.
What are you drinking?
What are you drinking, James?
Cava's
this Buxton Brewery IPA it's called Shelterstone. Not tried it before, but you know, it's a nice can.
You have only one can for the whole show?
No, I've got another one. I've already poured it. Thinking ahead.
I'm really boring today. I'm just on the water today.
I think one episode I should break out some White Lightning.
Yeah. We need to get a drink sponsor for the show.
Yeah. Okay. Let's so we always start with like kind of like corona based questions first. It's always kind of interesting to get different studios
not the
opinion
singer.
of what of where the kind of the creative industry or UK and the world in general is heading. like pre and post Corona. So first of all, you know, how has Corona affected your business in like a broad sense of the word?
I'll start a bit and then you can.
You start, because I know you want it.
Yeah, I think it definitely affected us in a way that a lot of jobs that we had in the pipeline is coming in a slower rate. So it's just taking quite a long time for people to be invested in the current climate and, you know, getting a sign off and something. Because we're quite small business anyway, we don't really have very thick and very healthy pipeline for new business just yet. So, you know, it's quite, I think when it started, there's a lot of interest in terms of like, a lot of people like kind of worried about being able to shoot in live action because they couldn't think about animation options or something, but that kind of died out in a way. So I think a lot of clients didn't want to make the commitment, so they just wanted to wait to see what happened. So there's like, I think there's a multiple unknown. So it's just a lot of like quite difficult times in the beginning. I start to see a little bit of change. You see in like the last couple of weeks, even a week or so, I think started to get confirmed a bit more. So yeah, I think overall, like very slow start and just just getting, hopefully, fingers crossed.
Hopefully, I guess that, you know, as companies start to figure out the way forward for them, you know, they'll have a bit more confidence in where their budget spend goes and that kind of side of things. I mean, it's still very much up in the air, but there's a little bit more clarity now than there was 6 weeks ago.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah,
That was a lot of fun about 6 weeks ago.
yeah.
Most of the jobs we had lined up were all for live sports. So we had a whole heap of jobs that just disappeared. And about half of the stuff that stayed on is, I think, when you work in this industry, you work with tons and tons of freelancers, like freelance producers as well. And it seems that we just got so many emails of people saying, I've been let go, I've been furloughed, everything else. So really, the only things that are still going forward is stuff where the gears will kind of turn anyway. And we had a couple of jobs that were going to be live action, and they were looking into animation. And then your main job is kind of like then convincing people who've never done animation to do animation.
Yeah.
It's easy to convince. You can just say you're probably going to kill less people.
Yeah, that's like number one. One bullet point. No one will die.
Maybe asterisk, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Do you guys, as you guys a smaller size studio, so you have less stuff, do you guys feel that is a little bit advantage at this stage, or because you have less overhead as well, so that helps, you know, somehow to keep costs low? Do you think that is helping you guys, to, you know, to survive? Because I'm not, we didn't hear anyone is closing down anything. Oh, not saying that, but who was? Be Real closed down London.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they closed down. Yeah.
Was that on the cards before Corona, or was that
It was
just
because of Corona? Yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So
is that just the London office?
Just the London office, yeah.
Oh.
So it was quite, you know, then of course they're not animation, they're more like agents, but they used to do a lot of the animation stuff, motion graphic. So it's the only ones I heard that closed down as well. But do you guys feel that help you guys, you know, like, because Be Real was quite massive, so the overhead cost is just like, as soon as your telephone stop ringing, it's quite hard to keep up paying everyone, no?
Yeah. I think definitely, yeah. And we were going through some transitional period, having a lot of us left, and we were tried to refigurate the studio about February, March time, and then the lockdown and everything happened. So we're still making sure that you know what we need to do the next chapter for Picnic. But yeah, definitely current climate, I think it definitely helped to just sustain the level, and it just gives us less pressure to go out and get new work, because at the moment it's quite hard. start everything from like a conversation, start a conversation from scratch. It's quite hard, isn't it? So
how do you feel this whole pandemic is going to affect how you run a studio? How do you think it's going to like shape your studio going forward? Because obviously you talk about like kind of your structure. Obviously this has had will have quite a big impact in some way, shape or form, like how you guys operate.
Well, it probably stems from the workflow. The workflow we have is it's very important for everyone to be together at the beginning, but it's never been that heavy because we don't do tons of 3D. We're not relying on lots and lots of hardware. So we've always been very flexible with people, whether they want to work in the studio. Obviously, it's better if everybody's all in one place. But if people want to work away, we're always kind of fine with that. Yeah, we've got lots of things in place so that we can keep in contact all day online and things like that. So it didn't really affect anything in terms of how we've been working in a sort of couple of years, even leading up to it. How it goes forward from there, I think it's kind of forced absolutely everybody into realizing that it's possible to not have to be in the same place, to kind of work with more flexibility, and working remotely is way easier than it was even 2-3 years ago.
Yeah,
I kind of feel one interesting aspect with working remotely is if you've not worked with that person before and building up a trust kind of thing, because that's always a big element, even if you're on site. I wonder what the solution to that is. I mean, do you take one of their parents as collateral just in case it messes up?
One of the children.
Yeah, go for the children.
I think we were quite lucky the last few years that I can't even count like less than 100 freelancers that I said, oh my God, that was not very good in the end. But we always going back to who we trust and people we know, because in the end of the day, that's exactly it, isn't it? Like you need to really work with people that you know, you're 100% sure that they're going to leave.
Yeah.
And
makes things a lot easier.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just for keeping it moving forward, I think it's very interesting times because like that before, it's really nice that it's somehow that we have a little bit of breathing room because the commercial production is so slow, so we can just a little bit of step back and think about what we really, really like to do. Because I think that's the thing about having a very small hands-on production, small studio, is that if we have like 7-8 jobs or 10 jobs or whatever, we are really busy and we can't really think about what we really, really like to do anyway, like the next chapter. So I think that was quite helpful. And having a lot of chat, and we always we live together, so we always discuss what we're gonna do next and what we like to do. It's really, really tough at the same time, obviously, but yeah, it's good. It has been a very good opportunity.
I was thinking also, one of the benefits of more people working remotely, if it suits your studio model, like talking to the previous people on our chats, is that if someone's really good as an afternoon person or someone's really good as a morning person, I think it helps with efficiency too. Whereas if you're on site, sometimes you're not working as efficient as possible, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. We've the last bunch of projects we've brought on new people actually, and you can count several people that you would work with again. I can count several people that we've still not met but worked really, really well because they're in America or Europe or somewhere else. And because we didn't really because working remotely with someone, we'd been used to everybody in the studio, and so working with someone remote, it was a completely new thing. And so you had the benefit of not knowing what you were doing with them. Yeah. So you were both just finding your own way of working and making it work. So there's a bunch of background artists and a few animators we worked with who I absolutely love to bits and did great work for us. And I've still never met them. I still don't know
This reminds me of like the early,
but
it's like late 90s, early 2000s, where you had lots of gamer friends online that you'd never met.
yes, and it's just like that. But
Is that too niche? I don't know.
yes, racism. But the other thing is what you talked about, flexibility. Yeah, absolutely. We've got really talented people to work with who might live outside of London, or for whatever reason, they'll any reason from I'll be able to get an extra couple of hours in today if I don't have to travel.
Yeah, it's good. It's good, especially with some freelancers you guys are using, common friends who travel quite far into London to work and then try quite far out. Having that extra 4 hours per day is massive.
It's really useful,
and it opens up your talent pool as well to a lot further field. But then when we were speaking to Mike last week at Man vs Machine, it was an interesting point that he was saying. I think he'd missed that camaraderie with people in the office. I think that's also quite a big thing when you're working on a project together. And sometimes it also shows in the cohesion a little bit.
Definitely.
Yeah, totally.
I really miss that, like, banter. We have a gym on site, so sometimes we do like a gym class together. Call that. So yeah, the kind of really family vibe, isn't it? Everyone knows each other.
This I think it helps on the job as well, not just on the creative side. Bounce ideas, and but that comes to a question I have. Is something I always feel. I always had that kind of block with work with a lot of people remotely. The reason is because end up to direct the job and to produce the job takes a lot more time of directing and producing, and sometimes feedbacks is a lot more complicated. With the situation now, it just is not much an option for us, so we need to adapt and work with that. Do you guys feel, how do you guys feel in work, like on the production side and directing people outside, especially if people work in different times as well, and if we work like in really tight deadlines, sometimes it's quite challenged on the production schedule, just to make sure everyone's gonna deliver that file for you on the time you need, and the people sometimes disappear. So how are you guys feeling that? Do you guys feel as much is happening?
Well, I think every single job we do, we're quite used to doing jobs that are that have a certain, let's just say, a certain budget to them that force us to work in a certain way. Find the best solutions to things. Very, very tight. Let's just say, our productions are often very, very tight, and each new job, we try to do something that will challenge us, but also something we haven't done. Repeat yourselves. The same goes right across production, and so for us, it might be different production-wise, but if you're directing or if you are directing with somebody, it's just this is new. The attitude I took to it was, this is new. We're going to have to get used to this people remotely, because if you've got something that's really, really last minute, there are tons of talented people we haven't worked with yet, and the only reason we couldn't get to work with them is because something was signed off the day before you have to start working on it, and people's schedule is full. You call loads of talented people and they say, "Yeah, I'm good for the next 3 months."
I think that's a difficult aspect of everyone. If someone's good, then they just get booked up, and it's really difficult to work with the people you want to work with, unless it's all the planets align.
Yes, and that you can wait years to work with somebody. To collaborate with. So you obviously still find really talented people, but you're sort of forced into that situation. So you just have to do the best.
They're B grade, right?
Yeah, and talking with someone remotely, whether it's over Slack or chat or Zooming or hanging out or something like that, it's just a different way of communicating. And actually, I think it's different, but can be just as useful and just as productive as being in the studio with them and having them sit next to you. It forces you to communicate in a different way, really more direct.
I'm just
and
about
really
to say.
straightforward and kind of no bullshit, not wasting time. Things like that. You actually get a very, very lean rhythm and a very lean way of working.
Yeah, we always like be really honest, because there's always people like slacking or not disappearing last minute, right?
Yeah.
Always one, and we just call them, and then I have no shame in that. I'll just say that I'm really disappointed at what you're doing. Can you just not do that anymore? Like, I don't really have. I mean, same time when they're doing amazing, I'm like, oh, you're amazing, you're my star, I love you so much, you know. Like, I'm just really.
It's a very British put down as well. Like, I'm very disappointed in what you're doing. That's like the ultimate British put down, isn't it?
Of course, I'm not doing. I'm just picking up the phone and shouting in Korean.
I love you. You're amazing. Is like the best thing I've ever.
No, I'm just like, where are you? Because obviously I'm panicking. I want to find where you are, why you're not doing this and this stuff. But I think that I think you can build up like really good honesty, and obviously still. I think it's really coming down to, like, you can know someone under pressure, like what kind of person that is, right? The collaborators. So because we have this kind of incident, and then we say, oh yeah, we're not gonna work with them again, or like, oh, let's work with them again but in a different setting, or like let's better work with them. Yeah, I think it's always a bit of a roller coaster. There's always something in there, isn't there? Like,
there's always something. You can't plan for absolutely everything, can you? Like, there's it's like with any See No Evil thing. Even though we've done it for so many years, just before a show, there's always a technical difficulty. I think it's a similar thing.
Turn to be a part of the job, no? If that doesn't happen, you don't enjoy anymore, you know. I
mean, part of your job is just how you solve things. That's just what it is. Another thing I was going to ask, I asked Buck and Mike last time. Like, I guess does the location of a studio really matter anymore if it's going to be more remote based work, whereas previously, you've had like a London address or a New York address or LA address. It's like, oh, this is this is a good company to work for. But I guess if it's more remote based, it shouldn't matter as much.
I would say back in the day, which what back in the day, 3 years ago.
I was going to say 7 weeks.
Yeah, no, back in the day is like, it is. It's literally 7 weeks ago. It may have. I really don't think it does anymore because of what you said. There's animators artists who live out in the country, and that makes them better artists.
Would you ever work with somebody who was based in Doncaster?
That's weirdly, that's the only exception I have. And I lived in Donny.
You got mugged in Donny.
More than once, yeah. I think people tend to they sort of gravitate towards somewhere that makes them people. Yeah. For me, that's that same place, the same type of place I grew up. I want to be somewhere with trees and rivers.
Actually, it kind of leads on to another thing I was going to ask. Like moving away from Corona, like obviously you guys are from vastly different childhoods, and I know, right? You know, with Mina, with you growing up in Seoul and you growing up in Stockport. Sorry,
Southport. No, you were right.
I was right first time. Shit. How do you feel that's influenced? How do you feel that's influenced your work? So, it must have influenced your work in some way, shape, or form.
Yes.
Or not.
Definitely, I think it really brings a lot more interesting subject to talk about, different perspective things to look at, and different approaches to the same problem. I think it's more like inspiration as well, because obviously I'm Asian and I'm born and bred in Asia, so it's different. The kinds of stuff that I grew up with.
You travel quite a lot as well. Like when you were younger, you went to like were you in Australia for a bit and then New York, or
Yeah,
one other way
I
around
left
before.
the place before I came to UK, which is nearly
Mm.
6 years ago now, which is just crazy.
How many regrets do you have coming to the UK?
Yeah, so it was gonna be 3 years, but now like it's nearly, I don't know how long is it now. 17 years now.
Wow.
Well, I think it's quite interesting that it's almost like I have a kind of culture that I grew up in. And now I'm looking back on it, it's so different, vastly different from that, like Liam, when Liam knows. And I think we ended up educating each other on a lot of, subjects. And I think I think it's only gonna get better, isn't it? It's just passion for culture, but in a big way.
Never really like completely conscious of like it's, when we're talking about an idea, coming up with something. There's never that. There's never a disagreement where it's like, oh well, that's because you're from here and I'm from here.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't play into it at all. That's why we were a bit convex about the question. But it doesn't really play into it.
It's quite. I don't know. I think helps as well. Now it's quite nice to have two different cultures mixing together, in one studio as well. It's two different perspectives.
No, I mean at the same time that whatever those influences are, they're woven through everything. In the way that you approach your problem, the way that you approach business and things like this.
I guess they're a bit more subliminal in a way.
Yeah.
Yes, more unconscious and stuff like that.
Yeah.
More, on it and patient. Slow down.
And also you two being a couple as well. You guys so long together, you guys used to each other. It's not like if it's two business partners that never work too much together, come from different country, and it's I think a lot more share. You guys share things every day as well, so that helps.
Too much.
But yeah, I mean it's like when we first started Picnic, it was Mina's suggestion, and I kind of fought against it at the beginning. I didn't think it would be very good for our chemistry. But we started working together, and at first, when you are collaborating on something, you both have very strong and passionate ideas about something. That conflict was very a lot of fireworks there, but the relationship creatively and how that just the relationship in general is like the metaphor I like to use is like a kickboxer's shin. They kind of break it,
Right.
and then it heals sort of stronger.
I was going to say like Chinese foot bindings, but
maybe if that's all nasty. No. This is more like.
But they break it and it comes together.
Sort of mottled kind of like.
And then you hobble together as well.
Scarred version of itself, but it's still there, but it's a lot stronger and it can like kick stuff.
Yeah, I mean we're still together and still on what business is going, which is crazy.
So I guess starting a studio together and being a couple, there's a lot on the line there as well. Like if it doesn't work out, it's like you've not just lost your business, you've also lost your other half.
Yeah. We had this like in the beginning of like a kind of business consultation that we have to tell this consultant about these questions. Like they were asking like, oh, so we have to think about what scenario where you're not going to be copyrighted, and how that's going to affect the business and all that. And it's like, oh yeah, I mean we haven't thought about that. It's such a like because I think any creative business is really for long. And also being like, I'm married to the to me. All this chemistry, and we have a child as well. So it's crazy because there's always constantly something to talk about.
Yeah, I guess the child probably changed your dynamic as well in terms of how you work quite substantially.
Yeah, definitely. It's almost like before our daughter came into our life. It's like, yeah, I think I figured it out. And then Scott is like, ooh, what is this?
It's a big change.
It's like different levels. Like, what am I doing now? And but yeah, I think I guess we are somehow like made us like some sort of amazing market somehow. It's kind of like juggling things and just keep finding a balance and just moving ahead, which is great. It's
Yeah,
hard.
but special to find a balance, because you guys constantly together, how to separate like personal life from the studio as well. I can imagine that is quite a big challenge, especially like going home, you can still talking about work and live.
But hey, what happened at work today? You were there, Jesus.
Yeah. It's the
I know
They got a water cooler at home.
yeah. It's the Chris Rock thing. I know exactly what happened to you all day. What you thought?
But in the same way, you don't have that questions. What you've been doing the whole day? Where you've been today? It's pray you guys don't need to talk about work at home.
It's none of that. No, we've gone beyond, man. through the monolith and
exactly.
everything else. There's some other level of like being together. It's very bizarre. But the thing it does is that it makes you a very good scheduler. So you end up kind of like planning. You kind of know what you're doing every day by about the hour, and that's the only way it's going to work. To sort of get work on several projects, work on development, work on home business, work on planning, things like this, work on child.
Yeah, so in the beginning when the lockdown happened, the first 2 weeks was like a mess. Like I didn't get any work done, screaming at Liam. Liam is not getting any work done. So what we did is we broke our day by an hour from when we get up until Scarlett goes to sleep. And then we identified we have minimum 3 hours to maximum 5 hours per head. Doing like schooling and all the work and everything. And ever since we figured it out, we're kind of happy the way because it's almost 9 to 10, you do that, 10 to 11, I do that with Scarlett, or 11 to 12, you do that. But yeah, I mean, I think first few weeks were like, what is this? It's like, it's not, everyone is on top of each other. Like, it's hard.
How's your daughter dealing with you both being at home? Because it must be quite kind of like system shock. And like, actually, double question, really. Like, how does she deal with you guys both being at home working? And what does she think you guys do for a living? Like, is she into I mean, I think she's probably into animation, really. But what does she think of it all? It's like, oh wow, mum and dad are doing special stuff.
Well, it's all everything's normal. If it's your house and it's your mum and dad, everything's completely normal. So it's normal to wander up to dad and sort of snatch the Wacom pen away and start drawing. All over the work, and it's completely normal to see, calls like this and things going. In fact, she's kind of wondering. I mean, it's her life. It's her house.
True. I guess if she's used to it, it's just it becomes the norm. So it's kind of all right.
And I think
I think she's used to it already. Like because we are doing almost like we try to do equal parenting. Like if Liam does 50%, I do 50%. I probably do a little bit more, 40 sort of.
Oh, burn!
Yeah, exactly. But it's like I mean, she's used to it, and she's really kind of happy-go-lucky, as you all know, like happy-go-lucky person. So it's like, one person, 2 people, all the time with me. It's good. It's like fine. And about what we do, I think she is hard too young to ask the questions yet. But sometimes she asks. Today she said, "Oh, mommy, do you miss going to work?" And I said, "Oh yeah, I do. But I like spending time with you." Then kind of like, yeah, I want to go to school. So it's like, oh, okay. So that was a little bit of a, okay, fine. But yeah, I think she's doing fine.
Yeah, because of, it's funny. I think like my daughter now is on that age, you know, like it's 3.5 now, and she's not used to me to be at home every day. And in the beginning, she was like just wanted the attention sometime, and I have to jump in a call or do something, and she didn't.
Now you want the attention.
Yeah. She didn't understand why you're doing at home and you can't play with me. So the first, I think, 2 weeks was she's start getting upset with me. It's like I'm not really understand now it turns to be a common, you know. I think she's gonna suffer more when I go back to work, because I'm still going once a week to the studio, and when I go to the studio, she just like, oh, where's daddy, and keep asking, you know, Marcella, why he's taking so long. So it's quite weird to see how they process, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I think I hope that is it become kind of new normal, because a lot of people that I spoke to in the industry, in our industry or not in all the industry, they kind of really enjoy being home with their kids and their family. Obviously, there's like financial implications, but without that, I think I really enjoy being home more, because I'm always, you know, I've been always like full-time working mom, and it's always like juggling so much and school and everything. It's just like I'm always saying like just move on, quick. I need to want to do something else. So now I'm like, I really enjoy it. So, you know, I don't have to get up. I mean, I still have to get up early to do schoolwork and all that. But yeah, overall, I kind of like it. And hopefully that's, you know, that's what people do. Just enjoy their time with family.
I think anyone who doesn't have kids and is not currently having to homeschool is kind of not not aware of like what a big thing that is.
It does make me jealous of this lockdown, and like, you know, when you go through like Instagram and see all this amazing stuff that people are putting up, and it's like,
yeah.
Just have the time.
Yeah, I'd like to be doing a bit more.
But kind of actually on a related point, how do you guys like keep your studio like on top of the game and like, you know, your stuff looking fresh?
That's a hard question.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think it's the studio isn't that big. It's always been a very pretty tight group of people, with people coming and going and things, sort of joining that central group. But it's never been more than like 10 people. You know, even when it had the most, and that core, we always kind of pick people that you know, kind of delight us or intrigue us, or you know, make stuff that sort of feels kind of that we're a little unsure about, or is kind of a bit weird or funny or something else. Otherwise, I think Mina and I would probably spend a lot of time just soaking up stuff, you know, all kinds of references that makes it. We can, you know, you often get kind of what's the syndrome, choice paralysis, you know.
Yeah.
Kind of thinking of references and stuff like that. And we're both kind of movie nerds and design nerds and things like that. So I don't know, if we're staying fresh, I mean, that's good to know. You probably have to have something else.
It's kind of like a creative cocktail bar where you just kind of pour in your whatever influences you've seen from wherever, in a way, like be it your childhood,
in some
or
ways.
growing up, or
Yeah, exactly. This is something I was thinking about when you asked about hospitals in different places. You know, I don't think we never get a brief in, and we never think of a project and then look at what's fashion. If anything, we kind of want to look at what's current to try and sort of deviate from that. And the only thing you can trust, if you're gonna consciously deviate from what's going on at the moment, the only thing you can trust is kind of what you want.
yeah. What else was there?
Asking on relation, like when you guys work quite a lot with freelancers as well. and just to help people understand your set of mind. Like when you look for freelance, what you normally look in the show reel to find the perfect person for you? What are you looking for people that want to join and work with you?
Something that it's quite hard to describe. I've seen it on a few studios' websites, and we usually encourage it in things like that. That rather than sending a show reel, send like a little short or something you wouldn't, something that you've just made for yourself. Not something that you're targeting any one particular type of business or any area of business, but just something you make for yourself that comes to you, and something that shows your character, and something that makes a statement about what you like, and what your passions are, and things like that. And it always comes out, whether it's in the animation itself, in the technical execution of it, what decisions you've made in animating, or whether it's in the writing, whether it's just some bizarre little piece. And it's always that. That's the only thing that ever sticks out to me and makes me say, oh, we should get them.
Yeah.
And everyone we've hired has had that.
I always think of it's almost like I always kind of feel like a show is a little bit of a dead format. Sometimes you do it out of necessity, but
it's really
as an
hard.
individual, a short film's so much better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really hard to gauge what the person did from
Yeah.
find out. It's like some people say, oh, they did this, they did that on the show, like shot by shot. I found it really helpful. And obviously, this is really great skill to work on a commercial projects and all that. But yeah, I found the showreels a bit like, I mean, what did you exactly do? Because one shot can actually comprise of like, I don't know, 10 different.
Especially in this day and age where you got like quite potentially quite large teams. Like if you find out somebody's just tweaked the color grade rather than the creative side or whatever, it's really quite hard to know.
Yeah.
But it also makes me think, like, if you watch someone's show reel or what have you, what puts you off hiring them?
Okay.
What, other than terrible work?
Yeah, like for example, for me, if I can see something that obviously looks like they've just copied a tutorial rather than added their own creative spin on it, then that really annoys me.
I honestly don't pay attention to those things. I just watch it if I'm intrigued or if I'm hooked. Yeah, like those things occasionally stick out. This is a really great advantage to having lots of people in the studio and watching things in the studio. One thing we often do, or I try to do especially, kind of stop what everybody's doing and call everybody over and say, what do you think of this thing I've done? What do you think of this thing I'm watching? And usually if you've got a compositor and 3 animators and a producer and a runner and somebody else.
It's a good breadth of knowledge there.
Oh, I've seen that. That's a tutorial, that's who was that guy recently who just nicked all of his stuff?
The Sony stuff, yeah.
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 Someone is going to recognize something. That's probably what happened in I don't know, 2 dozen studios around the world.
It reminds me, obviously it's not about me, but like years ago, I used to write tutorials for like computer arts and what have you, and someone sent me a showreel, and they'd basically just taken my computer arts tutorial and rendered it, and then put it in their showreel. And I was like, why are you sending this to me? I fucking made it.
To see if you hire him, no?
Well, I sent it to quite a few studios saying don't hire him, but I mean, whatever.
Maybe he was a fanboy.
I think the fun thing is that we get a lot of emails mixed up with other studios, and I'm always laughing at it. And I don't think I have hired anyone from those emails. Like oh, dear God,
Oh right, yeah.
So
Basic
great.
things, man. Getting the name right.
Like, you know, like,
They forget to change the dear name.
But that happens as well with clients, no? I email you guys a few times. I get like, "Hello, picnic. We have this job for you," or something. "Oh, hey guys, you remember that last job you guys did for us?" No, wasn't us.
I forward this on.
One thing I want to mention about freelancers, we always try to get them on the hangout or something before we hire them, because we really check the kind of chemistry.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything worse than, like, having spent so long hours a day spending next to this person that I don't think I can really get on. I'm not saying that person needs to be like comedians or anything, but decent person.
But potentially.
Exactly. As added bonus, I guess. But I think it's always like try to keep like studio vibe really up and kind of happy place to go to rather than come in and work.
Especially like if the idea for me, the ideal studio size is like between like 10 to 15, and if you're hanging out with people all day long, it's go with people you want to get on with, and that helps, like you say, like the creative vibe, and that makes better ideas anyway.
Yeah,
it has to be someone you gel with.
Yeah,
How
totally.
many couples do we make?
And they need to. I haven't kept him. That gel, the willingness to sort of like get into whatever the culture. I mean, can you say it's a culture when it's less than 20 people? But like whatever the
Small
however
culture.
the idea is, however it works, things like that. I think you were saying what not to look for, but like just very lengthy emails. No one reads them, And it's not because you're idiots. You just usually don't have the time. I think just a link, to a short or a very very short.
So just keep it like short and sweet kind of thing.
Short and sweet, direct. No one has any time to.
Just put a TLDR and a link to your reel. Sorry, a link to your short film. It's done.
Brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. That's getting clicked. Like if you write 300 words with a link at the bottom, that link is probably given something away by writing.
And also make sure you add only one link as well. No? We get quite a few times people email you, "Oh, here's my edit showreel. Here's my photography showreel. Here's my direct showreel."
Yeah, you have to be more concise.
And come on, what are you trying to?
I think more than one link is okay, but it shouldn't be like, this is my animation reel and this is photography. It should be more precise than that. I think that's the difficulty. Otherwise, you're not sure what you're aiming at. What am I hiring?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, people are often looking for generalists, aren't they, as well? So, but maybe not so much of a generalist. You're looking to take everybody to job.
So what are your? I think this was a Thiago question actually. But what's your favorite type of client?
Mina.
The client's paying. No.
Actually, this can also link in with like what's the favorite project you worked on and why? I think it's kind of a similar question as well.
We had quite good run actually last year, so I can think of some really good clients. We really enjoy working with Channel 4 on this new campaign for the show called End of the Fucking World. So that
For what? Sorry.
End of the Fucking World. There's like a.
Oh yeah.
No, so we did a social media campaign for it, and it was really really fun. It literally went to pitch for it, and just won the pitch from then on. It was I think it's a mutual trust, really, just letting us get on with what we like to do, and really, really, really happy results as well. So that was really, really good project. And I think Liam and I were both looking for something different, and like when we get a good client. Well, for me, it's like a kind of clients push us into do something really, really good work.
Yeah.
And we really want to collaborate with clients and collaborate with people that we work for a lot. So if the community is honest, give that and timely, honest response on what we do, because we really care about what we do. So I really want clients to feel the same, rather than, I don't want to, in particular, try to get stuck in a relationship like we are like one of the service providers. We just do work way. I
Yeah,
think
that's the worst. Like, you're just a number.
Yeah, that's really, and I guess it's because we are quite small. We've been quite lucky to work with like a handful of kind of people that they are really happy with what we do, so they chose us to do some good work together. So yeah, I think that's sort of what we are looking at in terms of
As you comment about pitching, I think we didn't ask that question to anyone yet. But what you guys think about the culture of the free pitching? For small studios, quite always hard because to pitch costs money, and not like UK, we don't really get paid to pitch. It's quite rare. Someone want to pay us anything to pitch. In America, you end up getting more, at least to cover the costs. And it's quite a hard situation because to get bigger jobs, you need to pitch. No one's come with a bigger job to you and say, "Here is." You don't tell me the idea, but what you guys think? Because that is really hard on the small studios as well.
I think it needs to change. Yeah, it's really, really hard. I mean, we, as you said, Liam's going to probably pop it up, but for us, it's almost like a couple of weeks of proper work, and we don't have the team, like a pitch artist ready. So we are paying our artists, freelance artists, and sometimes like in-house people to do like full work. And sometimes it goes on like 3 weeks of like, sometimes like you pitch on it and you get shortlisted and there's like a feedback on the pitch, and then the cycle keeps going. And I think what frustrates me the most is always like clarity of where we are and what the process of it all. Yeah. I'm trying to be always very, very open about it. First, obviously, there's a pitch fee. 95% is no, 99% is no. And then I say how many companies pitching, and is there anyone getting paid? Because sometimes top 2 gets paid and third person doesn't get paid. And I don't want to, contribute our work for free for just being third choice. And a lot of, I think I must say, like, if you really confront them, they say the right answer. Like, okay, they're like, 2 others pitching. And then we say, okay, it might be, we love to read the project, we're going to invest some money into it or whatever. I think the number gets a bit ridiculous, like, there's 9 other companies. Yeah,
especially if it's a free pitch.
It's a lot of smoke and mirrors, I think, with pitching.
Exactly. And like, sometimes we actually say that, there's another 15 companies pitching. And I'm like, it's just like, it's a bit too much.
It's like a lottery.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like if the law changed where you had to pay for pitches, then it would just cut out a lot of bollocks. You'd be committed to an idea. Otherwise, there's been so many cases of agencies or scrupulous companies where they just put out a pitch tender to, like, for example, like every like major studio in the UK, just to canvas ideas, and then they'll take it in house, and there's nothing protecting against that. And then you get we have protection against minimum wage, and yet people are asking other people to work for free, and that's fine. I just think it's just double standards.
Yeah, that needs to change massively. I think it's pretty standard in a lot of places to get paid for pitches. To not do it here, I'm not sure what the hell.
Well, I bet the agencies get paid to do a pitch from their clients. It's
but
just not
the budget. Your budget, so it's their job to present.
We've been brought onto projects where they talk to creatives, they'll tell you how long they've been working on it and what that budget's been, and then you'll be left sort of sitting there, so saying, well, why wasn't there a little slice of that, to go to the studio that was pitching on
people who have the ideas and they're going to do the work.
Actually contribute quite a lot,
Yeah.
No, it's not always the case, and every case is really different. There's really brilliant examples, there's great examples, and there's really poor ones. You know, sometimes you're used as leverage against another studio.
Yeah.
You know, that's definitely happened, and you can kind of tell when it's happening now. You'll be asked to pitch on something, you'll put a pitch in, you'll also be asked to quote a budget for it. And then they'll come back and they'll kind of sheepishly say, well, we talked to, you know, 2 or 3 of the studios, and they said that they could do it for cheaper or less.
Yeah, it's always.
So it'll be brought down. You know that really you're just making a play against another few studios.
There needs to be more transparency.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's it. Like, we have been in many situations last year, especially that people. It's almost like a week of my solid work going on sometimes, because there's lots of budgeting, lots of scheduling, and they're sometimes trying to ask us like name of the artist we might be working with. So it's like it's a whole other level. And then the job somehow disappears, and then we find out, yeah, they brought it in house, or they went through some other like subsidiaries or whatever. It's almost like getting their work done for free.
I think the pay pitch as well is been talking to other studios before, but not even cover the cost. You know, but if the client, the agents, needs to pay a small fee, that force them to really read your pitch, really check your pitch, because it's not free. So that you're paying for something that they're gonna say, all right, we need to take a little bit more serious because we're putting some money here, and they're gonna go through your pitch, especially if it goes more than 3 studio pitching. You know, it's just like crazy.
Yeah, cost is a fantastic motivator for people to.
A couple of years ago, Jing and I did a project with a European body, and when Jing was pitching for that project, every single pitch is all about transparency. So all the pitches, along with their budget, was put in the front, so you could see what everyone else was pitching, which I thought was a really interesting way of working, and I kind of like that. You know, I think it makes everything much fairer and much more level playing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that's great. Yeah, it'd be really good to see what everybody else is pitching.
Yeah,
that would be nice.
Yeah, somebody should try it just once. You know,
you first.
Is it even hard to get the names for you pitching against? You know, quite a few times we ask the client. We always ask how many people pitching, because if it's too many, we just don't join that. But even it's good to know who you're pitching against, because that at least give you the direction of what the client's looking for. You know, if you're pitching only against like Cell Animation Studio, you know what the client wants a little bit, you know, on the technique sides. But if it comes like to a studio, then we do a bit 3D, a bit of 2D cell, and it's quite hard to present idea to the client if they don't want to tell you much as well. But at least
they've gone for a scattergun approach, where they haven't really got a direction; they just put it out to everybody.
Yeah.
And that's not particularly.
But then you know what they're looking for is conceptual.
Yeah, it's conceptual.
It's probably more budgetary.
Well, budgetary is always the main one. You know, we had a pitch recently. I can't even remember what it was called, but we were told that we had to come up with a concept, even though the client had a concept in mind, that a direction that they wanted to go in, but we weren't allowed to know it. And the
all right, Mystic Meg.
The middleman wasn't allowed to know either. We had to cost it and schedule it. The client had a deadline in mind, but again, they weren't saying what it was. They wanted to see what the deadlines were going to be. And they also had a cost. They had a budget in mind, but they had heard that they could get it for a lot less, but they wouldn't say what that was. So we had to. So it was kind of like,
it's horrible.
I don't even remember what we did know about it.
Sometimes it's like pulling something out of thin air. Like there's nothing to go by. And then I'm thinking, because obviously, you know, when I form a team of workers, what I'll try to do is really transparent. Like, okay, I'm talking to another artist to see if, you know, director likes you or something else. And I don't you see there's any shame in that, talking directly to people about like, I mean, of course, people they want to know, and I don't know, it's like, I don't know where, like a studio to like agency of going forward, that level of, I think the communication needs to be a lot more clear. Otherwise, it's just wasting so much people's
It's just running around.
You know, it's like we don't really want to think about like our week of our free work multiplied by like 10 different students. Like what on earth? Oh, so much time and effort.
And I think the budget is always the worst because of course they do know the budget, you know, they do have a budget in mind. It's so better if they just come and say, oh, we got the deadline is that, the budget is that, what creative you can come, because then you put the studio as the best, you know, weighing who has the best creative, who can do the best job for their money. But stand there, you still need to guess sometimes a lot of the budget, and makes really hard, you know, because you need to pitch idea. You can pitch a 10 grand or a £1 million idea, but you don't know how much the client wants, you know.
It's always the case, isn't it? Like it's the guessing game, wild goose chase sometimes is, yeah.
So moving on a little bit, like given all your experience and what you guys know now, like if you were starting out again, what would you tell yourselves? Like what what would you prepare yourselves for?
What you know, the sheer amount of time that goes into everything but the creative is probably the main reason we get into it for. Every single studio starts up, we're going to do our own projects and things like that, and then the business side sort of takes up the majority of your time. So the thing I'd probably tell us, whatever, 7 years ago, would be, you know, if you're going to do anything for yourself, make sure that it's true to your passions, things like that. Rather than don't target any of your work towards it. You know, unless you're going in for a very, very, very specific business plan. You know, if you're essentially going in to sort of marry art and commerce in a happy kind of scenario, you know, just make sure that the work you do make is happy.
I'm kind of imagining some kind of like quantum leap scenario where you know, pull back and there's a mirror and you try and save yourselves.
Yeah. Occasionally there's an episode he looks in the mirror and it's like really shocking, terrible.
Yeah.
And a lot of days are like that.
Yeah.
We have a question from the chat as well, from Sans Dango. I hope I said right. Is asking if you guys still planning to like take interns and runners this year after the whole thing come down.
Lube clap.
Say again, are we still planning on what?
Get interns and this year after the whole coronavirus situation come down a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course. We, as I said, you know, we were going through some changes in the studio and just about to, and still really completely out the game. So definitely. And we have been really, really badly, like notoriously late to reply to all these like, you know, people asking for internship and stuff. But yeah, we are definitely still. We'll definitely do when we can open. Hopefully, I don't know, July, June, whenever.
2021.
Yeah.
2025.
July 2022.
I think they just should come back and wait the year finish and start 2020 again. No?
Yeah.
Hard reboot.
Yeah, a hard reboot would be a really good idea for everybody. All the kids who didn't get to take their exams and look at their boards.
I don't know, man. That's a double-edged sword. It's like, well, you have to kind of base it off of their mock exams, which I don't know about you, but my mock exams were shocking, and it kind of kicked me into gear for my real exams. But anyway,
anybody whose mocks were great, they can just forget. I think if once we reopen again, yes, absolutely. This sort of transitional period that we keep mentioning is kind of, it's sort of looking at the kind of work we produce when we're not doing commercial jobs, and you know, whatever silver linings you want to take from the pandemic and all of the extra time it's afforded us, we've been working on kind of choosing a more specific direction for the studio to go in. You know, you don't get much of a chance to think about that if you're not careful when you're very busy with commercial projects. You know, you're kind of pulled in lots of different directions doing commercial projects too, conceptually and creatively, and just in terms of even the look. You know, people talk about the tone and the character of their work. It's difficult to know what they are for us when you're on the other side. So we've sort of taken the time that we've been afforded now, being at home, homeschooling, and spending a lot of time to think about what kind of stuff we'd like to work on. So when the studio when everything opens up again, you know, there'll be a lot more original content.
There's another question on YouTube, which is kind of relates to one thing I want to ask, because you know you've been doing a few projects in VR, what have you, and again, pronunciation is not my key, but Raite asked, are you considering doing some side projects like a show or a video game or something outside of the usual business? You know, 'cause I know you guys are doing VR stuff or that kind of side of things, so I think it's quite interesting.
Yeah, yeah, we had a couple of adventures in VR. Again, it depends on the idea, it depends on the concept. I don't think we'd get into video games, because even though Mina used to be a completely obsessive basement-dwelling video gamer,
big Farmville fan.
yeah, big StarCrafter right there.
Oh yeah, of course, South Korea. How did I forget?
Yeah, you're missing out all the
Real.
questions.
Up in a DVD bang.
Right. Yeah, with just before, like, sort of towards like the second half of last year, we were you know, there was stuff happening on shows. Yes, working on some shows, and we were having conversations. It wasn't just a tour; we were sort of having conversations, and some development was going on. And the coronavirus kind of slowed it down a bit. You know, because your attention kind of goes over to the studio alive in some ways as well. But yeah, there's some stuff going on. So yes, the answer to that question is yes.
It's too early to reveal, but something is brewing.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice to
Oh
know.
yeah.
There's some stuff on the go.
Definitely.
Nice. Should we do a last question? We just about 67 minutes in with you guys.
Okay.
Feels quite short, you know, especially not having a drink.
Very short.
But it's about right. It's about the same as before.
Yeah. So do you have any last question, James? Or
Like, who was your favorite StarCraft unit?
Can we not get into that?
All right, that's another episode right there.
It's gonna take me another 25 minutes. So.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
I think it's quite a good one. Is like which project has been like a complete nightmare, but turned out better because of that? You know, where you have like unusual ideas that you would never have got to otherwise because it was such a crazy situation.
I mean, we have different idea of nightmare-rich projects, right? I think I'm not going to mention what that is or what it is, but we've been working on a project. I think it's a couple of years ago, and what I can say is like it's really hard push. It was just really hard work and very little money, but in the end, it kind of made us realize what we like to do in terms of like just general, like, you know, what kind of you know, the content we like to make. So we started sending the work we have done to relevant people to try to just get the conversation going. It was quite successful. So I was thinking that when I was working on it, I'm like, oh, this is such a complete mistake. Why have I signed up for that? But then we push it.
I made a huge mistake.
Yeah, we push it through, and it actually opened the doors for us. So that was really good. I think, but it's really hard when you're in the thick of it. It's like you just want to get it over with, right?
Yeah.
But,
Hindsight is always 20/20.
exactly. In retrospect, I think when you look back on it, that was good. But again, it's really hard because I almost find every single project is quite hard.
I think for me, it's probably one of the recent ones we did with the Anime Film Festival, and that was a really quick turnaround. We did it all within about 2-3 weeks.
That's quick.
Literally, like 2 of us put that together, and we, the budget was. Was there a budget? No, there was quite small, and we sort of explored about 3 or 4 concepts. It was a pretty hard deadline, and we got a couple of weeks in, and we had quite a few different concepts going on that were all varying levels of complexity, and we really massively hit a brick wall in it. And it was like, oh, maybe we should just there were thought that I think the thought entered the head, basically say like maybe we should just call them and say like this is going to happen. And that's the time to sort of go for a walk in the sunshine, and
get some fresh air.
Yeah.
Like completely
Within your allotted 1 hour time period from the government, of course.
Yes, and this is something else that's super important about having a crew and having people around, and just go for a walk and a smoke and whatever you got to do and a chat and everything else. Come back, and then this new idea came, and it was, and that's the time to really put the hooks in it and grasp it, and that's the one that ended up going in. And we really, when you get that. One of the other things we do in the studio is kind of like very openly say, and we say this to anybody who comes in as well, who joins us for the first time, is like, if you think you have a better idea than all the ideas you've heard here from all of us today, just say it. Because if we all agree, and it is, we'll gladly chuck out our idea.
Yeah, and the guy's like, yo, I'm just from Uber Eats, what?
And we'll go, right.
I hate myself.
Come back and go, yes, fine. But we will. We'll throw it out. If there's a better one, then that's it.
Sometimes necessity just brings out the best creative. Like you start panicking and go into all these kind of places where you wouldn't normally go to. And sometimes this brings out the most interesting ideas.
Yeah. Sometimes the best ideas come at 2 a.m. before a deadline.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many times where you've been asleep, trying to get to sleep. It's like, oh yeah. And you have to write it down on your notepad.
It's like David Carson saying he comes up with his best ideas at like 3 a.m. with a big marker pen, coffee, and a pack of ciggies and all the rest of it. It's just like, oh yeah, that's completely, completely.
See, another benefit of working remotely, best time, 3 a.m.
Well, everything has its silver lining.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's probably the best one in terms of several concepts just dying and giving birth to this other concept that ended up being great.
So they didn't die in vain.
No.
All right, shall we wrap this up then?
Yeah, let's wrap up. It was really nice to see you guys, and besides some
huge thanks for joining us.
Well, it was great to be invited. All the talks have been really great so far. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's been really good fun. Like I was a bit apprehensive at first because I'm not really good on camera or an interviewer, but it's been fun, man. It's been fun.
Oh, you are.
he changed his CV. He told me this week. He texted me and said, "I'm in change for a YouTuber."
Yeah, that's right. YouTuber.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for inviting us again. It has been so much fun.
Thanks a lot for joining us, and thanks for everyone joining us on the chat as well. And join us next week for we've got Erin Sorofsky from Sorofsky in Chicago, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, thank you very much, guys. Have a
Take care, guys. Stay safe.
You
Bye.
too.
Take
See you
care.
later.